Energy weapons are a class of weapon I absolutely love in the Fallout series, especially from the older games, but it's a class I find myself rarely using over their ballistic counterparts. That's why today I wanted to ask if you can beat Fallout 4 with an unmodded classic plasma pistol. Quick disclaimer, this weapon does come from a mod. I had my normal start of using my mod to skip the pre-war segments because screw that, named myself Mr. Plasmatic and assigned my specials, and the game spit me out right at the vault as it should. I spent some time grabbing a few supplies and headed to Sanctuary where I started scrapping absolutely anything I could come across that had wood, as I was going to be using this to spam a bunch of fence posts for some early levels. I wasn't entirely sure what the classic plasma pistol started spawning at, so I decided I was going to make a little miniature city of fence posts here, which was actually pretty fun. Normally I don't do this on a run as I don't like to leave Sanctuary at a high level, but with about 750 pieces of wood, I got myself to level 4, took some useful perks like Scrounger, Lone Wanderer, and Idiot Savant, and then I was out on my adventure where I completely skipped everything in Concord because Preston was going to be completely worthless to me this run. I didn't plan on siding with the Minutemen at all or really doing any of their quests, so my goal was to make it to a merchant as quickly as I could. So that means I stopped by Drumlin Diner, where I just let Trudy off Wolfgang, because you can actually aggro him, and then just walk over to Trudy and she'll kill him. And lo and behold, she did have the classic plasma pistol, which I was actually really excited about. I didn't think this thing was going to start spawning until a later level. I also bought myself a nice Enclave suit, which is, again, also from a mod. I'm sorry about that. I had to kind of fit the theme of this run. I actually really like the way this looks. It's really cool. I especially love the plasma pistol. It's just amazing. I love this mod. I checked up on Dance and watched him get assaulted by some ghouls, which I didn't really stick around for since that was way out of my pay grade, so I promptly left and started heading off towards Diamond City. I didn't have a whole lot in the way of ammo here, so there wasn't a whole lot I could do to help Dance anyways. I was actually out by the time I made it to Diamond City, so I spent a couple minutes fisting some super mutants so I could get some stuff to sell to Cricket, who was nearby, as I was hoping she would have some ammo, which she did. I was very happy about that. In Diamond City, for some reason, Kyle was already here trying to kill his brother, so I murdered him, bought some more ammo from Arturo, which is actually surprisingly cheap, and then I failed the challenge, because aiming with this thing was giving me a headache, so I modded it with a laser sight. I never added any other mods to the gun, like increasing its damage or ammo capacity or anything, so I headed off to Park Street Station to test it out on the Triggermen. Aiming with this thing was just night and day. It was so much nicer to have the laser sight on it. I was just so much happier, and it caused a lot less strain on my eyes. I couldn't really see that well when it didn't have a sight on it, and I figured the laser sight was a better option than using like an actual sight or a reflex or something. I went ahead and booped Dino in the head with an energy ball, talked to Nick so that we could start progressing out of the vault, and made sure to kill all the Triggermen in our way since I wanted their stuff to sell for later, as it was all worth a whole lot of caps, and I would need as much ammo as I could this run because boy oh boy this gun gets really bad later on. After killing Skinny Malone, me and Nick went back to Diamond City, where I of course reset to buy some more ammo because I was nearly out after Park Street Station. Luckily for me, the ammo for the classic plasma pistol is really inexpensive. It's about 150 caps for 60 rounds, which isn't too bad at all. I went and did Nick's little interview to get more information about who we were searching for, stole the key off of the mayor for Kellogg because of course I couldn't pass speech checks. I also ransacked Kellogg's house and stole everything inside because his stuff is now my stuff. And then it was time to go off to Fort Hagen. So this is where I really started seeing how bad this gun was, as it was about 3 to 4 shots to take down a synth, which for a gun this early on, especially since I'm not really a high level or anything, was kind of crazy to me. I kept progressing through Fort Hagen, which it was okay. Kellogg was a pain in the ass though, because he got away and was able to pop a stealth boy, so I had to waste quite a good bit of ammo on him because he just was hiding and I couldn't really see all that well, but he did eventually die. I watched the Brotherhood of Steel arrive in the Commonwealth, which was fun. I was going to be killing them this run. I went back to Diamond City and reset for even more ammo because I couldn't buy a whole lot at once. I was able to buy about 90 rounds per reset until I made it to Goodneighbor. Speaking of Goodneighbor, I went back to talk to Nick again and he told me we were off to Goodneighbor. Of course, I did the tried and true tactic of killing Finn as soon as I spawned in because he deserves to die. Talked to Dr. Amari, which was fine, and then my game crashed. I loaded back up to sit through Rice Krispies Memories, and as I was sitting here, I was not aware of the technical challenges that would befuddle me this run. I had way more technical problems this run than I was expecting. Off to the glowing sea, it was mostly normal except for when I got harassed by a legendary rad scorpion, and then the game crashed again, for the second time in about 30 minutes. So I loaded back up, made it to Virgil, who told me that I would need to head off to Green Tech Genetics to go kill a courser, so that's where I went. Green Tech was more of the same this run, except the gunners actually proved a bit of a challenge again. I'm not sure why they've been such an issue the last couple runs, but they've actually been able to do quite a bit of damage to me. Don't know if it's a modded weapon that they're using, or if I've just been kind of squishy. I don't really upgrade my armor anymore, so that could be part of it. But I did keep progressing through and made it up to the courser, who was also a pain in the ass because he was able to pop a stealth boy. This was mostly just me shooting as many bullets as I could into him because he just was tanking shots for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. I went back to Diamond City, did a quick reset, committed a hate crime while I was in the Old North Church to search for the railroad, found the railroad and talked to Desdemona, and then we had another technical issue because as soon as I went into the HQ, the game crashed for the third time in less than 2 hours. So I loaded back up, talked to Deacon and Desdemona and the gang again, made it into the headquarters this time, which was lovely. I decided that I was going to give Desdemona the chip and got it decoded, went back to Virgil, who wrote up some plans for the signal interceptor, so I took those back to the railroad, who I was going to be using for this run. I thought I would side with them as I haven't done that in quite a while. Next up was the switchboard quest with Deacon, which was probably going to be fun because, of course, I had to deal with more synths, so it was a good waste of ammo here because most of the synths took way more bullets than I was expecting. So Deacon ended up giving me a completely worthless pistol for this run, more scrap fodder for me to sell for more ammo later on. I went back to the railroad, talked to Desdemona again, save scummed through a speech check because I wanted the experience, and then Dr. Carrington needed me for a mission. I was off to rescue a synth. So this was more of the same, just going to a location, killing some raiders. Also, there was a ghoul here for some reason, which decided to attack me instead of helping me with the raiders. With that done, I was back to the railroad to talk to Tinker Tom about building the signal interceptor. I went off to Sanctuary and put everything together, and then it was time to get teleported into the Institute. So here's the thing. If I was siding with the Brotherhood, I would have just killed everyone at the Institute immediately, but I couldn't do that since I was siding with the Railroad, which requires you to be friendly with the Institute for some time. So I went down to talk to our Liam, who would be helping us free some synths. I also went ahead and met with the directors of all the main labs in the Institute as per Father's request. Went back to deal with the Cambridge Polymer Lab so that I could get a password for the dude back in the Institute. Went back to talk to the Railroad. Man, a lot of this quest is just back and forth talking to people. It kind of reminds me why I don't do the Railroad quests that often, as it's mostly just fast travel and loading screens. And then I had to do my favorite thing ever, Libertalia. So here's where things got really annoying. Libertalia was actually insanely aggravating. A lot of the raiders here were a lot higher level than me for some reason, which I'm assuming is due to one of my difficulty mods, which is, kind of on me for not disabling that before I start a challenge run, but you know what, it adds extra challenge and flair, so I keep them in anyways. I did eventually get this quest done, it was just a pain in the ass. Back in the Institute, it was time for the Battle of Bunker Hill, which was pretty standard, except the Brotherhood was hostile to me because I never helped them at the police station, so I had to kill off the Brotherhood members. I went back to CIT Ruins, and this is where even more technical issues started. So, I talked to Father at the top of CIT Ruins, and it was time for the Directorate meeting, right? Except he never spawned. He was never here. So, I went back up to see what the hell was going on, and apparently he aggroed onto some raiders, so I had to fix that by reloading an old save. Once that was done, however, the game decided to crash on me again. So I was stuck on a loading screen for about 15 minutes, and then it just froze and crashed me to desktop. With that, I had to reset my entire PC because I couldn't get Fallout 4 to launch for some reason, not sure why. Back in, I had to go deal with the Battle of Bunker Hill again, which required me to kill the Courser, as usual. But Father got glitched out again at CIT Ruins for some reason, and I had to reload an even older save to get him to work, which was back at Libertalia. So, once I had gotten through all that again for a second time and done the Battle of Bunker Hill a third time, I could go back to Desdemona and let her know that the Brotherhood were about to just show up at the safe house. This was actually really not that bad. I was actually assuming that the Brotherhood would be a lot more issues this run, but they weren't that bad. Even the ones in power armor only took like maybe 10 shots to go down, and a lot of the Brotherhood actually carried the classic plasma pistol, which got me more ammo for it. So I was all for fighting the Brotherhood this run. With everything there done, I was off to Cambridge Police Station to clear out all the Brotherhood there because we needed to steal a vertibird. So inside, for some reason, there was ghouls here. I'm not sure why they were in the police station fighting off the Brotherhood, but it made my job a lot easier. I thought I was going to have to fail the run a third time here because I had to hop in the vertibird and get on the minigun, but it did let me hop out so that I could start clearing out the Brotherhood Knights that had showed up to annoy us. I shot a dead body with the minigun, which doesn't fail the run, thankfully, and the flight to the Pridwin was pretty standard. I just used stealth here, as you can actually just go ahead and plant all the bombs without anyone noticing you, because I really didn't feel like wasting ammo right now and having to go reset. With the Pridwin done and exploded, it was finally time for the last stretch of this mission. By this point, I was just really done with the playthrough. With all the technical issues and it being around 3 in the morning when I was recording this last segment, I was just over everything. So I just started beelining through the Institute, killing pretty much everything in my way unless I didn't feel like dealing with it. I got jump scared by invisible synth gorillas, which was honestly the highlight of the run for me. That was terrifying but pretty funny at the same time as I watched a couple of the railroad heavies get bullied by invisible gorillas. It was really amusing, so I was actually kind of happy to have some relief. On my way to Father, I was actually startled by the amount of synths that were in the way, and it was just me down here, so I had to kill them all myself. By the time I was done, I had wasted almost all of my ammo, and I actually ended the run with only 2 mags of energy cells left, so that was pretty scary. I made the final push towards the reactor so that I could plant the fusion charge on it and blow up the Institute, and things took a turn for the worse again. The game crashed, I couldn't get it to load back up, and at this point I was just done with the playthrough. So no, I did not beat Fallout 4 with only a classic plasma pistol. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed my pain and suffering this run. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.